Today is February something. I think it's the 22nd. I think going forward, I'm not going to start off with the date because I really don't know what day it is. I know it's Sunday, late in February. I know that we're in between eclipses. It's 2026. But other than that, to announce the day, I don't know if I'll do that anymore. I think the logical side of my brain wants to do that because it's like a journal entry, and that's how I keep track of my written journals. But to get the video set up and sit down and consciously get ready for this time, I never even really know what day it is. Today I want to talk about being gentle with myself, and it's something that I've been conscious of for a while now, but I don't always remember to practice it. But I want to talk about it because I feel like my exterior world is starting to reflect what my interior world is, or maybe it always did, but I'm just aware of it now and consciously trying to shape the exterior versus in regards to the interior. And I'm going to be working on this painting today, which it's at this point where I know it's not finished, but I'm also slightly attached to it where it's at right now. And whether it's for my benefit or detriment, I don't know, but I like posting progress shots on Instagram of my work, and well, I guess just because my work it's all progress, process based. So the process is very important. In fact, for me, it's more important than the finished product, or it's starting to become more important. I'm starting to place greater emphasis on the work itself and how I feel when I'm making the work versus having a finished painting to show for it. So every time I post on Instagram and I get people messaging me that they like it, suddenly it's like, oh, maybe I should keep it the way that it is. My mind starts, don't ruin it. It's always my story that if I go too far, I'll take away the magic of the piece. And the magic really is coming from somewhere else. And I don't want to overwork it, I guess, is the fear. So I posted this one a day or two ago, and I had quite a few people DM me saying that they loved it. And I love it too. But in my heart, I know it's not quite finished. It's not what I was envisioning. And I've been working in my head the last few nights to, I call it, painting in my mind, and trying to decide the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, like what would be right to bring it forward. And what I'm going to do today, I think I'm going to add some more book pages and neutral pages to sort of knock back most of it. It was between the book pages and tissue paper, which I'm kind of at this point where the tissue paper is like the end. So I'm going to try the book pages because there's a few areas in this piece that I'm really loving, and when I glue the book pages down and sand it away, I can see the outline underneath it of the image, and I think that's really beautiful. So I think I'll just work on that while I'm self-projecting. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about being gentle on myself and with myself, not just emotionally, but physically as well. And I really notice it when I'm taking a shower and I'm like vigorously washing my hair. It's almost like I'm definitely rushing. But there's no need to rush. But it's like I'm telling myself I don't have time for this. Even though it's enjoyable. I love taking showers. I love heat, and I don't know why I rush through it. I think it comes from my mom being stressed out when I was little. She had two little kids under the age of 2, and she probably was tired and wanted some time in the evenings to herself, and maybe rushed through bath time. I don't know, but whatever the reason, there's something ingrained in me to be rough with myself, and I notice it a lot more when I'm rushing, because I'm trying to slow down, because there's no need to rush. And I remind myself of that when I am rushing. It's like, slow down, take a breath. There's no reason to be stressed. And when I do that, I notice my body relax. It's almost like an exhale, like, oh, thank you. And so this morning, I was washing my hair, and I noticed my initial instinct was to be vigorous, to not be gentle, but I was in such a state of bliss that I was able to catch it. Oh, that's not straight. One thing I really love about my process is the opportunities to make a quote-unquote mistake. So what just happened was I went to glue this down and it wasn't quite straight in the corner. And when I went to pull it up, it pulled up some of the paper that I was gluing it down, but that's okay. It's all okay. The way that I work with the paper, it allows for, it leaves room for error, whatever error is. Just gonna rotate this. So I found these really beautiful images of fans, and I ended up taking a photo of them and then printing them out at Staples, because I just had two, like the image had two fans. One had a white center and one had a black center, and I thought, oh, I want to just use this image as a repeat pattern multiple times. So I took a photo of it and printed it out, and now I'm able to use it as this like decorative element in this work, which is an experiment. It's all an experiment. I thought that one was cut wrong. So I'm adding the fan to the corners to pull the eye into the center, because what I want the focal point to be is this, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this image in the center. I'm going to add some book pages to the corner elements as well. But first I'm going to add some glue to the top, because I'm hoping that when I go to sand, if I go too far through the pages, that it won't take away from the image. Like the image underneath will be protected. So it's something else that I'm working with and trying. I think it does. I think the glue does add a layer of protection, because you're essentially adding like a layer of plastic over top. It took me a long time to realize the best glue to use for paper is just white school glue, and to brush it on. Because before I was using a medium, and the medium sort of worked in the same way, but I was adding water to it to try to thin it down. And the water in the medium was rippling the paper, which drove me nuts. Talk about perfectionism. You're doing collage and there's rippled paper. That got my goat. So I noticed the story that I wanted to talk about today was being on a walk with JD and the dogs last night. I think it was last night that this happened. And I could hear a neighbor talking to somebody at their door, and the guy at the door was wearing a vest, like a nighttime reflective vest, a safety vest. I'm just going to spin this again. And the vest had the word Kojiko underneath it. So I knew he was from a phone company. But I didn't really know why he was there because we were just walking by. But the conversation between the two of them was so high vibe. It was courteous, polite, authentic. The guy in the house was asking him, I think he said, we don't need that right now. I don't know if the Kojiko guy was trying to sell him something. But he offered him water, and he was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming by. And there are moments in my days where I listen a lot to other people's conversations. I've always kind of done that, like eavesdropping. I just really enjoy hearing how other people are. And lately, the people in my world, everyone is so relaxed. And it's different than the people that I used to observe. I would say 5, maybe even 10, well, at least 5 years ago, where, people would be angry at the grocery store or telling somebody off, or even when I was driving, I would get people honking at me or flipping me off for something. And it used to really bother me. And I would, wonder why. But I know now that the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. And if the people outside of me were unhappy, it was because I was unhappy. And I'm not seeing that anymore. And I feel like the background frequency has changed. Last week we had the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and we had an eclipse, which I think amplified the conjunction. We also had the moon. The moon was conjunct Saturn and Neptune the day before. So there was a lot of energy, but what's going on in astrology right now is so fascinating because everything is basically like pointing towards new, fresh, a new beginning, a new start. But because we're in the middle of eclipse season, like we had an eclipse, a solar eclipse last week, and then on March 3rd we have a lunar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse is a south node eclipse, so it will highlight things from the past. But because what I've learned, because we're in between these eclipses, there isn't clarity. And I think Mercury goes retrograde as well. February 26th. So there will be even less clarity, especially around communication, technology, travel. So there's this feeling of like new beginnings, and I can really feel this shift of energy as well, where in my world everything feels calmer, like there's no rush. And maybe that's why today I was so aware of rushing, and like I didn't need to be. Like I have to keep reminding myself there is time to be nice to myself, to be kind to my body, to take my time in these morning rituals that used to feel like a burden. Like I was using energy that I didn't have to bathe or brush my teeth even. It felt like such a daily chore, like, oh my god, I have to do this thing. And I see now that it was because I was in fight or flight mode, and I don't think my nervous system was regulated. Like I just didn't feel safe. So rushing from task to task was a distraction. It was the ultimate distraction, so that I didn't have to stop and evaluate, like, why am I feeling this way? How's it going? Yeah? So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some pages. I don't want to cover this center portion. But there are areas that they need to be toned down a bit. This area here, like anything that's kind of really dark. And I don't want to use book pages for the whole thing. I want it to seem organic. So maybe what I can do is add some more paper over top. But if I sand this away, I'm going to take away that beautiful patina. That's kind of nice. Oh, I know what I can do. I can add this over top. Maybe like that. Yeah. JD's photographing his brooches right now. Some of them. He's photographed most of them and put them up on his website. But he's just out in the hall right now doing that because the lighting's better out there. There's more natural light. So he's kind of in and out. This is such a beautiful piece. I could use this, and I can sand this too. Maybe like that. I think I'm just gonna start gluing. Not worry about it. Like the composition, and just trust my intuition. And another thing I wanted to talk about was something very fascinating that happened. At least I find it fascinating. This book page here, something that just caught my eye, said, "The rabbit that the black dog kills." And JD and I were talking this morning, actually, about my old dog Miko and how on the farm in Alberta, Miko caught a rabbit and ate the whole thing. And we were literally just talking about that this morning. And Miko is a black dog. Black and white, but mostly black. I really, really love working with words, because things like that come up all the time, where it's like part of my subconscious shining through. These pages are so delicate. Oh my gosh. They're kind of coming apart in my fingers. The glue sticks to them. That's kind of what I want, though. All paper has different texture, and I work differently with different textures of paper. And it's so fascinating because my cognition in human design is touch, and cognition is like what sense is your strongest, how you kind of interpret and take in information in the world. And when I found out mine was touch, everything made so much sense. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of already knew that. How was I going to do that? Like that? Maybe like that. I don't just want to use book pages either. I think I'm going to use like magazine. I ripped out some of these magazine papers they're just like columns of words. I think I'm gonna rip them up first though. Oh, this one I was going to add here. Like that. Yeah. These are pages that I had torn away from this same canvas. One of the stages I rip things off and then continue on. Yeah, that looks good. it's still wet. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about something that I don't want to forget because it was so cool. The other night, well, it was actually in the morning, just before JD and I woke up, it was probably like 5 in the morning, and I was asleep, but then I heard him talking, and hearing him talk kind of woke me up enough so that I could be aware of what he said, but I was still in that in between waking and dream state. And he said, I think evil's in its own world now. And I replied, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And a few minutes later, he sat up and, oh no, I remember. I reached for my phone because I was like, I have to write this down. I knew that it was profound, and I didn't want to forget it, but I knew that if I didn't write it down, I would forget it. So I was on my phone and I was writing it down in the notes app, and I guess me on my phone actually woke him up, and he sat up, and I was like, oh, are you getting up? And he's like, yeah. And then when in the morning I asked him, were you awake when you said that? Do you remember saying that? And he didn't remember saying that at all, and was almost amazed that that's what came out. And we talked about it in length that day, because I think the conclusion that we came to was that it was our higher selves speaking to us and letting us know that everything is going to be okay, that we're going to be okay. And for me, it felt like I needed to hear that. Whether evil is real or just a construct of our psyche, I don't know. But I feel like my whole existence, or most of my existence, has been just waiting for something bad to happen so that I can react accordingly and figure out how to care for myself, how to take care of myself in that moment when that bad thing has happened. And I don't know if that's, if that was conditioning from my mom or from her death. I feel like it goes way further back before her death. It's ingrained in me to expect the worst. But I keep choosing differently. I don't want to be that way anymore. I have been very selective of my beliefs and what I've been allowing what I've been telling myself is true, because we have so many thoughts in the day, so many thoughts, but a lot of them are the same thoughts, over and over again, or just slightly different, the same thing but slightly different. And So when I became aware that our thoughts create our reality, I have been trying to be very intentional with those thoughts since then. With my thoughts since then, I should say. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, I was talking about evil being in its own world. Yeah, to me, it was just like confirmation that, I have actually moved into a timeline now where that level of emotion doesn't exist anymore, because the frequency that I'm at is so vastly different from that. And so I'm sitting with that. Because, people watching this might think that I'm just living in a castle in the clouds, but so what? To me, that's like the best place to live. So I wanted to talk about that because I feel like that's something that I don't want to forget at this time when all of the planets are changing signs, the outer planets are changing signs, and we have so much happening astrologically. There's a lot of change in the air, and that message from JD was very comforting for me. It was almost like, you don't need to worry. I mean, we never need to worry. But I feel like my whole life I've been worrying. The interesting thing about everything that's happened within the last week astrologically, I've had so many moments of calm body bliss. Not so many moments, but there have been pockets. 2 weeks ago, or it was like a week and a half ago, I went for acupuncture, and she put needles in specific areas that I feel like mostly I'm going because of my jaw, because it clicks when I open it on the left side, and I have like pain in my temples, and when I open my jaw too much. Like, I don't have pain when I chew, but and my massage therapist said, you might want to get this looked at. It could be TMJ. And that was the beginning of, looking into what TMJ even is. This is cool. I'm going to put that there. So I've been getting massages trying to release my shoulder muscles, which have been helping. But the acupuncture was kind of like out of this world, because there were muscles that all of a sudden released that I feel like had been tense for a long time. Like she put needles in my ankles, and then my calf muscles relaxed. which I didn't even realize that they were tight, but because they've been like that for so long. But it was interesting because it's like she knew, well, this area is tense, so that means that, this area is also tense. It's very fascinating. Are you done photographing?
Yep.
Maybe I'll wrap up then.